On March 11, 1942, during World War II, General Douglas MacArthur and members of his family and staff left the Philippine island of Corregidor and his forces, which were surrounded by the Japanese. They traveled in PT boats through stormy seas patrolled by Japanese warships and reached Mindanao 2 days later. From there, MacArthur and his party flew to Australia in a pair of Boeing B-17 Flying Fortresses, ultimately arriving in Melbourne by train on 21 March. In Australia, he made a speech in which he declared, "I came through and I shall return." MacArthur was a well-known and experienced officer with a distinguished record in World War I, who had retired from the United States Army in 1937, and had become a defense advisor to the Philippine government. He was recalled to active duty with the United States Army in July 1941, a few months before the outbreak of the Pacific War between the United States and the Empire of Japan, to become commander of United States Army forces in the Far East, USAFFE, uniting the Philippine and United States armies under one command. By March 1942, the Japanese invasion of the Philippines had compelled MacArthur to withdraw his forces on Luzon to Bataan, while his headquarters and his family moved to Corregidor. The doomed defense of Bataan captured the imagination of the American public. At a time when the news from all fronts was uniformly bad, MacArthur became a living symbol of Allied resistance to the Japanese. Fearing that Corregidor would soon fall, and MacArthur would be taken prisoner, President Franklin D. Roosevelt ordered MacArthur to go to Australia. A submarine was made available, but MacArthur elected to break through the Japanese blockade in PT boats under the command of Lieutenant, junior grade, John D. Bulkeley. The staff MacArthur brought with him became known as the Bataan Gang. They would become the nucleus of his General Headquarters, GHQ, Southwest Pacific Area, SWPA. On Bataan, the reaction to MacArthur's escape was mixed, with many American and Filipino troops feeling bitter and betrayed. When Wainwright broke the news to his generals, they were all at first depressed by the news. But I soon saw that they understood just as I understood. Some people with family members in the Philippines were dismayed. One wrote to Roosevelt that nothing you could have done would have broken their morale and that of their parents at home so thoroughly. Wainwright held out on Corregidor until 6 May. To Joseph Goebbels, MacArthur was a fleeing general, while Benito Mussolini labeled him a coward. Marshall decided that the best way to counter this was to award MacArthur the Medal of Honor. In April 1942, Bulkeley led his squadron in an attack on the Japanese cruiser Kuma. The PT boat scored a hit on the cruiser, but the torpedo was a dud, and failed to explode. No damage resulted.